Let's color space. No filter here, just the truth. My light, my friend from your county. Your voice, turn on your phone, Miami.
Animal services. Well, it may affect our libraries. It's going to affect our roads, county roads, that you have to use the property tax dollars to fix the roads and transit. So there's some definite challenges, and we're working hard to have a plan how to keep services going at the level that people expect and need. So over the time that I've been mayor, we've reduced the millage rate in your property taxes twice. Wish we could have done more. Wish we could have done it more years. But actually we have the lowest property tax rate since the 80s. So it was a very big move, and of course I only propose, it's the county commission that approves and finalizes. So we have our county commission to thank. So that's it for my little overview. I hope that was hit the high points, and I'm here to answer your questions and to have a conversation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to have some questions, and we're going to have a question and answer period. And as you guys know, we're pretty open. We allow you to ask the questions, and we're going to allow our speaker, but we don't have any foolishness in here. You guys know that? And so we're going to just try to get the information that you all need to have. And we're going to just do it in the spirit of Miami-Dade. Is that all right? You good with that?
Yeah.
All right, anybody got any questions? Okay, so Jamal is going to come, and then you'll be next. Jamal is going to come, you'll ask your question, and we'll go from there.
Good evening, everybody. So I have a question. I'm renting a house in Miami-Dade, and the rent is included with the water and the lights. So the lights and the water is not in my name, it's in the company's name, the property management company. So because the lights and the water fluctuates, I can't call it FPNL or Miami-Dade Water and Sewer to try to see how can I get assistance because it's so high, because I don't know. So how could that help me? Like what could you all do to help assist with that?
Yeah, so for sure, I mean, you're raising, I'm sure a lot of people are affected like you are by these things being incorporated, and I know I've heard in this area as well, where sometimes the property owners have allowed leaks or things, they haven't addressed them, and then that bill gets carried on to the residents. So it would be helpful if you're aware of a specific situation, your address, we can look into it, and Melanie can get your address and see what we can find out. We could check the meters, see how that's going. That's as to the lights. As to the electricity, that's Florida Power and Light.
It's a program called the YES program.
I'm sorry?
It's a program that the property management goes through called the YES program because they're outside of Georgia. So it's not FPNL.
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
All right. Well, we're here for customer service, so let's get as much information as we can. Okay. We'll look into it on your behalf and hope we can help you and your neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Mayor. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Could you tell us what's the exact status of the North Dade corridor as far as the extending Metro Rail? I mean, exactly where is it standing at this point?
I have to give a little history before I answer the question directly. So you all the voters passed a half a penny to pay for transit improvements. The program was designed to cost a full penny. So when all the Metro Rail extension was promised, it was based on a program that would be funded by a full penny. And the folks that were in office at the time, not me, not she, decided that a full penny wouldn't pass. So they decided to reduce it to a half penny. And they really never properly communicated to the public that they could only get half loaf. So it's been a broken promise for decades. And it's extremely frustrating for all of us because we all were told, right? We'd get all these Metro Rail extensions. Then also there was a recession. and the transit system couldn't pay its operating expenses. So the county commission approved, and the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust agreed to let dollars be used for operation of the transit system, which took more money out of the capital plan to build things. These things are very expensive, and they require federal support. To build the South Dade Transitway, which I don't recall exactly, the amount, it's like $1 billion, something along those lines. It included a lot of federal dollars, state and county. So the North Corridor is still on the table, it's still being studied, but there isn't any money in the federal budget to build anything right now. There was a hope during the Biden administration. We tried through something called Reconnecting Communities. We tried to make a special case, because the way it works with these corridors is you get in line. You make your case and you get in line, and then everybody that's in front of you around the country goes ahead of us. So I can't tell you that it's happening anytime soon, but it is still on the table. And I can assure you that your County Commissioner, Oliver Gilbert, is fighting hard at the state and federal level to try to get funds to make that a reality. First of all, another thing I'll say is the right-of-way. To build it, elevated, is very expensive. To put something on the ground, there's not enough room for traffic and a dedicated lane. So I have not given up on it. It's not up to me, but I advocate. I have not given up on it, but there are some challenges, and we got to do something. I'm telling them at least, my opinion is at least do something rush hour both ways on a dedicated lane. That's
with the tax thing about our house taxes.
I'm sorry, it's property
About the
taxes?
yes,
Yes.
property tax. Okay, you said if they delete taxes, then we're gonna lose somewhere else, we're gonna have to pay more somewhere else. Our roads and stuff gonna suffer and stuff. So why don't they just, maybe you're 65 years old or whatever, then they, give us a break on taxes? I don't think completely delete it. I'm just saying for example.
Yes, thank you so much for this. I think that's what's likely to happen. I think that the legislators have heard that maybe people don't want to make such a drastic reduction that we can't do basic services. So that's, there's a lot of proposals that came out of the House side of the legislature. We don't have any proposals yet on the Senate side. So the Senate is going to have to make some proposals. Then whatever they do finally would have to go back to the House. They have to agree. And it is being suggested to focus on those over 65 who have lived in their homes a certain amount of time and whose incomes are below a certain level. So that is one of the things. I'm just saying that's what's being discussed or not. It's not, nothing is a given. And call your senator. Call Senator Shep Jones. You call him and tell him what you think. Because the House has already done their, it's out of the House and now it's on the Senate side. So you call and let him know what you think. Damn high, right? Everybody knows. And the cost has just gone up. We're really the most expensive place. Oh, look at that. We've got, I've just been talking about you, young man.
I walked in there and said Councilman was too damn high.
Yeah.
We must be struggling, y'all.
Yeah. There's an official party we call it, Too Damn High Party, right? You know about that in New York, yeah. So your commissioner, Oliver Gilbert, is right on time. All right.
Madam Mayor, thank you for all you've been doing and all you've done. I know that the county is who manages the animal control. And my little area where I live is fearful at times. I always remember Miss Doreen, because I know you know that case, it's been publicized. I don't want that to happen to anyone
Absolutely,
else.
absolutely.
It's happening a lot. And
Dogs
they're
are
not
out of
just stray
control.
dogs, they're people walking their dogs with long leashes or whatever they call it, loose leashes. And I know that Miami Gardens has no control over that. This weekend, we had an incident in my area And they called, and then they said, is anyone injured? Well, no one is injured yet, so that just went out the window. I'm wondering if they can sort of try to find something, muzzle the dog, whatever, in the story to help us. Because I'm sure it's not just my area.
Yes, thank you so much for raising that. We had a terrible incident here, and we're all very concerned. I would actually ask the councilwoman if we could have some joint meetings to see what we could do together and include our animal services in some public education and awareness, and maybe there are some things that could be done to create not only more awareness, but some more safety and controls. So if there are, right, we would be very delighted to support you in that, so we can keep our neighborhood safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for this town hall, and I thank you for vetoing the bill of extending the UDP. That was awesome on your part.
Oh, well, thank you.
And my question is, in regards to the garbage incinerator, it didn't have insurance, it had the wrong insurance. A lot of people are saying that it's your fault that costed Miami-Dade taxpayers, it's gonna cost them $1 billion. What are you gonna do about that? How are you gonna fix that? The fact that it's gonna now cost Miami-Dade County taxpayers $1 billion to build a new garbage plant, knowing the incinerator, knowing that Miami-Dade needs that money. There's gonna be a budget shortfall this coming year. How are you gonna fix that?
Well, thank you so much for bringing up the subject of the waste system. We had an incinerator in Doral that was operated by a company called Covanta, and it ran for 40 years. And then actually, there was a lot of discussion about whether it should be allowed to continue because it really was not in great shape. A decision was made by the county commission to continue operating it, and shortly thereafter, it burned down. Now, what have we been doing in the meantime? We've been sending that garbage to landfills out of town because our landfills don't have enough space. And the Board of County Commissioners, thinking about the options, decided they wanted to build a new more modern incinerator, but a decision hasn't yet been made, right? We have to have a site has not been finalized, and the board is going to have to consider the price tag because the cost will be borne by the ratepayers. Because it will cost more to build that plant, and that will be shifted to the ratepayers. So we know that there'll be a lot of discussion. In fact, it's on they're doing a workshop on Thursday. The board made certain decisions. They isolated it down to 2 major companies and asked them to work together, and they're trying to work together and put in a proposal, but they can't even tell us how much it would cost until we decide where it will be. So there's still some time. In the meantime, we're shipping the garbage out of town. That's the current state of affairs. So, people can say what they will, but this is something that happened. It was, an act of God. There's a lot of discussion about the insurance proceeds. There's a lot of discussion about who's going to bear the cost. But there is insurance that will contribute to whatever is the next phase. You want to say anything more about that? Thank you. And thank you for the thanks about my veto.
Yeah, no, I didn't support the veto, but I didn't support that. But I'm not sure it was an act of God. I'm not going to say the fire was an act of God. I'm going to say that building was in bad shape. It burned down. Right now, we are shipping it out, but landfilling, for the most part, in the long term, is more expensive, and landfilling in the long term is worse for the environment also. So we know that we don't have the capacity to landfill here, and we know we cannot ship it out in perpetuity. So yes, we need a waste-to-energy facility. Waste-to-energy facility that's modern. Not the one that burned down, not the one that you all remember from Coconut Grove, or that was old smoky, not that. Something that doesn't emit smells, doesn't emit chemicals. It can be done, I know, because I visited them around the world. Yeah, they have ski slopes that are built on waste-to-energy facilities. You can't smell a thing. So we know it can be done. The question is how we do it. When people conflate tax dollars with what it will take to operate the system, those things are 2 different things. So the county will need money, but the money the county would need can't come from this pot of money anymore. This is gonna be a rate-driven system. So the question is gonna be what we're willing to pay when we look at their proposals, and that's gonna decide what quality facility we have, but we know we have to do something. We know we have to do something. This state law requires us to actually maintain certain levels and abilities and capacities to actually dispose of waste to deal with whether we can issue building permits. And so we want to always make sure that we maintain our capacity to continually grow and deal with the problems that are facing Miami-Dade County. There are no easy solutions, but we're going to deliberate as a body and figure out what's best and move forward.
So he's not supporting the veto? He's not supporting the veto?
We don't talk out.
He's not supporting the veto?
Recognize the person with the mic.
They didn't answer the question about the insurance.
True.
You understand what I mean?
Hi, yes, good
Why does she
evening. Reduce their trash, to piggyback off of that, and to have a more aggressive recycling system. That would, of course, help Miami-Dade County with the issue of trash if we had a more comprehensive recycling program, say looking at Connecticut, which has an incredible program in talking about foreign entities that do different programs, especially in Europe, to actually get citizens to reduce trash, to get companies to issue things. What can Miami-Dade County do to help us and help corporations reduce our trash and our footprint?
So I feel like.
All right. I feel like what a blessing that you're here, because that is my song that you are singing. So I'm kind of Miss Recycle. I'm kind of, zero waste. We have a zero waste master plan in development. We've had some public meetings about it. Maybe Melanie, you could check online while we're here to see when there's another one coming up soon. We have some that are virtual, and a lot of people have participated in this because they share your concern. To all kinds of really creative ideas have been generated. And if we're building a campus with waste to energy or whatever we do, we will have more of that. We're already mulching yard waste. Maybe some of you saw in the news, we just launched biochar. They are actually on the landfill in South Dade with a project right now that we got, we put some grant money into it to convert yard waste into biochar, which is a very effective fuel, and reduces the methane and all the other bad stuff that comes out of landfill. We recycling. I'm a recycling nut, really. And for example, I'm trying to get the city of Miami. I don't know what is Miami Gardens on county recycling. Yes. Okay, so you're already part of our recycling program. But we know people don't recycle right. Something was created now called Recyclopedia, and we're also experimenting with things that kind of tell you when you put stuff in the bin, whether it's the right or the wrong thing. So, using AI type technology. So a whole bunch of stuff. And I'd love for you to check out what we've got at the Zero Waste Master Plan. And Melanie will get a link so we can post it for everybody and ask you to participate. But you are so right. We produce double the amount of waste per person of most cities in this country. Some of that is tourism driven. I'm sure some of it is like post-COVID. People are so used to disposable. We have to get out of that. We have to refuse, reuse, reduce, recycle to reduce our waste. And like you say, if we can't just keep producing it. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for our pocketbooks. And we need to change our ways. And there are ways that we can do it. And I didn't know particularly about Connecticut. We looked into Austin. They have some really good practices. So let's talk to you if we could after to get your ideas.
In public, they don't have public garbage cans. But they don't have garbage on the street either. So they don't have public garbage cans, but they don't have garbage on the street. So but their kids are actually educated and trained from, the time they're babies to actually, it's called the culture of cleanliness. And so we're working with the school. I sponsor legislation that allows us to work with the school to develop a curriculum that starts teaching our kids about recycling and how they should dispose of things. Because Not saying I'm giving up on the older people in this room. Not saying that. But I do understand that if we're truly going to affect the system and how it works and how good it is for our community going forward, we're going to have to affect the mindset of children while that mindset is being created. Because changing their minds and changing your minds and changing your customs and cultures has proven too difficult around other things.
Water run, don't waste the water. We're actually in a drought warning, right? It didn't rain enough this winter. Look at that, we think of ourselves, we're like the tropics, it rains all the time, but in fact, we're in drought warning, so we need to, modify our behavior there. And also electricity is just money, right? That we're spending and wasting and burning fuel to, let's turn off the lights.
So, sometimes we look at our own participation. We'll say, what can the county do? Well, we don't have the tools in our toolbox that other countries have that we can make corporations do things. So we don't have that ability in Florida specifically, but in the country generally. We can create the environment, we can create incentives, but a lot of the stuff, a lot of our savings is going to be from actually changing how we behave as people. So when we think about the county, I don't think about the county, I think about the community. The community is the county, it's the businesses, it's not-for-profits, and it's the people. How we behave and how wasteful we are actually will determine how much this system costs us and whether we're good stewards of the environment going forward. But it's going to be a lot of it's going to be us.
Thanks, Mayor, for being here, and Commissioner. Can you elaborate a little bit on the location where the public housing is going to be located? Public housing.
All right. So, public housing is being redeveloped in many places on site. So they're called RAD projects. I don't know what you have in Miami Gardens, maybe you're familiar with any public housing that's up here. And Hialeah doesn't, Miami Gardens doesn't have a housing up there. So there isn't any public housing that we know of just standing here in this area. But there are subsidized buildings that get money from our surtax program or from the federal government to subsidize to bring down the cost of rent, right? Because it brings down the cost of construction. We have county properties that we're also dedicating to building housing. The cost of the property is the most expensive part. So if we have county property that is underutilized and can be repurposed, then we can do it. And we can give you a map. We can give you sites that we're looking at developing, and a good bit of housing has been developed through this commissioner. So
it's not public.
We don't do public. We don't do necessarily public housing in Miami Gardens. We do subsidized stuff. Some of the surtax stuff, the senior housing that's being developed by the senior center using some of our surtax dollars. Also, the property on 183rd Street and 37th Avenue, when that is developed, it's going to be a multi-use facility, but it will use some of the surtax dollars. That will be public housing. It'll probably be more along the lines of workforce housing that allows folks who have jobs to actually be able to live there. The key to bringing down the housing cost over time is to affect supply and demand. And so that's not a public housing issue, that's a housing affordability issue. You affect supply and demand by building more. If you build more, there are more options, the price comes down. The problem is, commissions a long time ago, the county a long time ago made a determination that they wouldn't necessarily allow a lot of building in a lot of the areas. And so we got really behind as people started to move here. We weren't building, people moved here. Now we are actually building. So we've addressed the issue, we are actually building, but it's hard to catch up. So really, the units that we're building now, they'll realistically affect the price of housing in the next 5, 10, 20 years. But we're doing, yeah. And so that's, I never try to get your hopes up too high, but I will tell you, from my perspective, and what I can tell you, Ms. Mayor also, we both look towards solving the problem now, but mainly solving the problem in the future. Too often, you have leaders who only think about what's popular right now and not what's sustainable and what will make you better in the future. One of the things that I looked at when I was the mayor of Miami Gardens is what would place us in good fiscal health going forward. So the policy wasn't contemporaneously based, because I've seen the products of that. And so we are building now. It will not be affordable housing. It won't be public housing. Hopefully it'll be workforce type stuff. And senior housing. Because what we see is in the seniors in Miami Gardens, if they want to transition out of their homes, we don't want you to transition out of your home and have to transition out of your community. And so, you know, we want you to be able to stay here. And so I personally place an interest on making sure we have senior housing that's being built. Because we have high home ownership right here in Miami Gardens. And you all might come to the point where you want your kids to stay in your house, your grandkids to stay in your house, but you don't want to stay with them. I know, because y'all just don't want to stay with us like that. I know, you know, like we're not, yeah. So you still want your privacy, but you want facilities that can actually accommodate that. So we're trying to partner with the city, of course, and build that.
One more thing, Mayor, for being here and Commissioner. Can you elaborate a little bit on the location where the public housing is going to be located? Public housing?
All right. So, public housing is being redeveloped in many places on site. So they're called RAD projects. I don't know what you have in Miami Gardens, maybe you're familiar with any public housing that's up here. And Hialeah doesn't, Miami Gardens doesn't have a housing up there. So there isn't any public housing that we know of just standing here in this area, but there are subsidized buildings that get money from our surtax program or from the federal government to subsidize to bring down the cost of rent, right? Because it brings down the cost of construction. We have county properties that we're also dedicating to building housing. The cost of the property is the most expensive part. So if we have county property that is underutilized and can be repurposed, then we can do it. And we can give you a map. We can give you sites that we're looking at developing, and a good bit of housing has been developed through this commissioner. So
It's not public.
We don't do public. We don't do necessarily public housing in Miami Gardens. We do subsidized stuff. Some of the surtax stuff, the senior housing that's being developed by the senior center using some of our surtax dollars. Also, the property on 183rd Street and 37th Avenue, when that is developed, it's going to be a multi-use facility, but it will use some of the surtax dollars. That won't be public housing. It'll probably be more along the lines of workforce housing that allows folks who have jobs to actually be able to live there. The key to bringing down the housing cost over time is to affect supply and demand. And so that's not a public housing issue, that's a housing affordability issue. You affect supply and demand by building more. If you build more, there are more options, the price comes down. The problem is, commissions a long time ago, the county a long time ago made a determination that they wouldn't necessarily allow a lot of building in a lot of the areas. And so we got really behind as people started to move here. We weren't building, people moved here. Now we are actually building. So we've addressed the issue, we are actually building, but it's hard to catch up. So really the units that we're building now, they'll realistically affect the price of housing in the next 5, 10, 20 years. But we're doing, yeah. And so that's, I never try to get your hopes up too high, but I will tell you, from my perspective, and what I can tell you, Ms. Mayor also, we both look towards solving the problem now, but mainly solving the problem in the future. Too often, you have leaders who only think about what's popular right now and not what's sustainable and what will make you better in the future. One of the things that I looked at when I was the mayor of Miami Gardens is what would place us in good fiscal health going forward. So the policy wasn't contemporaneously based, because I've seen the products of that. And so we are building now. It will not be affordable housing. It won't be public housing. Hopefully it'll be workforce type stuff. And senior housing. Because what we see is in the seniors in Miami Gardens, if they want to transition out of their homes, we don't want you to transition out of your home and have to transition out of your community. And so, we want you to be able to stay here. And so I personally place an interest on making sure we have senior housing that's being built. Because we have high home ownership right here in Miami Gardens. And you all might come to the point where you want your kids to stay in your house, your grandkids to stay in your house, but you don't want to stay with them. I know, because y'all just don't want to stay with us like that. I know, like we're not, yeah. So you still want your privacy, but you want facilities that can actually accommodate that. that. So we're trying to partner with the city, of course, and build that.
RAD, R-A-D, the RAD program. Okay, so the exact abbreviation, what it stands for, the acronym, I have to check, but the bottom line is, it's the federal government allowed communities to redevelop public housing without federal dollars by allowing private developers to come in and fix it up and add units and make it mixed income. So that's what happened in Liberty Square, that's what happened, it's gonna happen in Andy Coleman, rental assistance demonstration, okay. But it has been very successful in Miami-Dade County. One of the ones is down in Little Havana on the, it's called River Park, and it's added hundreds of new units, and it's got replacement. Everybody who was there before had the right of return, and they were able to build out one building at a time so that nobody had to leave while it was being built. And they did the same in Liberty Square. Some people, that's a long story, some people were offered to go off-site and they didn't understand that they could come back, which they could. So, you know, we work really hard to not, even when we're improving things, to make sure that the people, as the commissioner said, the people that are part of the neighborhood can stay part of the neighborhood.
Okay, so.
Mayor.
How you doing, Mayor?
Thank you for the proclamation yesterday. And my favorite was there for the proclamation. I wasn't there, but who was it? I delivered 125 years.
Wow. Was it Michelle?
Might have been Michelle.
Yes. She's our favorite.
Yes, she was just, I was like, but anyway, but it was nice, and I thank you so much.
Ms. Mayor, you didn't answer about the insurance, that you had bad insurance for the, why did you?
Well, we're in litigation, so we're not talking.
Mayor, I wanted to ask you, what was your intake about the recall of their
Mass transit, the people that supported the campaign and mass transit, would you like that?
What did I do not say?
Well, take your time.
I'm the person who actually
You're elected in
I don't know what that means.
What do you feel about the recall they're doing on the mayor?
And you want them
Do you know
to
about
give
the
them the
recall?
contracts for mass transit. Would you like to answer
I
that
know
question?
about it. I don't support it. I support the mayor.
Okay.
I appreciate you, though.
Mr. Gilbert, what are your ties with mass transit, the people that fund your campaign, and the fact that you want to give them the contracts to extend mass transit? Would you like to answer that question?
I don't even know what that question means.
Well, I'm just saying, you're like the next Arthur Teal, bro. Arthur Teal loves transit, you too as well. Would you like to answer that question? He doesn't want to answer. You can call him like short if you want. Mr. Teal, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Oliver Gilbert doesn't want to come on my show because he's afraid to answer my question. Mr. Oliver Gilbert blocked me on Instagram. Mr. Oliver Gilbert loves mass transit. He wants to give it to his.
Let's call a spade a spade. No filter here, just the truth. My light, my friend from your county. Your voice.